If you're looking to enhance your performance whilst spearfishing, doing some pool training is a great way to do that. Now, ideally, you would be diving a lot in the ocean and you could do it through that means, and that was fantastic for some people if they can do it, because you get the ocean, you get the depth pressure that really helps condition you. But for most of us, there's always something that gets in the way, whether it's work, family, or geography, or the weather. And when you can't get out diving, it's really great to maintain a certain level of fitness. And it doesn't have to be pool training. You can do other things, such as yoga, bike riding, running, weight training. You can even do some meditation. I don't really do that. Now, in terms of the pool training, it's not ideal in terms of pressure. You can't really manufacture that feeling and that physiological impact on the body. There are only a few pools in the world that will actually give you that opportunity. But in some ways, it's actually useful to be in a pool because a lot of the variables are controlled, such as temperature, distance, depth. So you can actually test. You can test how your strokes are going, how a wetsuit's moving through the water, how some fins are performing, a few different techniques like that, which would be difficult to test in the ocean because there's so many variables in the ocean. The temperature's always changing, there's current, different depths, different weather conditions on the day. So a pool, being a controlled environment, is actually a good sort of, almost like a lab if you're testing out a few theories you have. So it's good for that data collection. Now you can do some breath holding in a dry sense, where you hold your breath just sitting statically outside of the water, or where you hold your breath and you hold it for a while and then walk a distance. That's okay, that's better than doing nothing. I think the problem is you don't get that mammalian dive response with the water, so you can't relax as much. That's why the pool is a lot better. In the pool, there's a few different types of training you can do. Starting off with the static breath hold. That is quite simply just holding your breath in the same, maybe face down or sitting on the bottom of the pool. I personally don't really do that too often because it's not, for me it's all about simulating the dive, and just the static breath hold is not spearfishing unless there's fish swim right up to the surface. That's not how you're going to get them. And so I prefer a little bit of movement added in, so I don't usually do static breath holds personally. With the static breath holds, there's a few tables you can do, whether you want to do a CO2 table or an O2 table. A CO2 table is with less recovery time, where you slowly increase your CO2. This helps develop a stronger tolerance to CO2. The maximum hold should be about 50% of your PB. With an O2 table, the longer holds develop an efficiency in the body under low oxygen, and they should last no more than 80% of your maximum, the maximum of your PB, that is. These static tables can be manipulated to add in a static dynamic element, and that's a good way if you're wanting to mix it up. But you need to be careful, just be mindful when you're setting the plan that it's something that's realistic and it's not going to put you in danger. Just be very careful when you're developing it. The second type of training is dynamics, and it depends whether you're doing just single one-off like a freediver would for going for a PB, or whether you're doing multiple of a particular length of a pool. Depends on the length of the pool you're in, and whether you're doing reducing prep time or whether you're increasing lengths and playing with the lengths you're doing. I tend to do a bit of a mix. So dynamics are good, but again, for me, I like to do a bit of a mix because I'm all about simulating what a spearfisher does. And for me, a spearfisher doesn't just swim all the time. So that's why I like to do a mix. But dynamics are great for getting the muscles toned, getting you used to CO2 and used to even a low O2 levels. So it's great for that. And I build it into as part of my actual plan when I go to the pool. Another type of training you can do is under overs. That's where you swim dynamically underwater, get to the other end of the pool, and then swim back at the surface whilst breathing, and then repeat. It's a reasonably good way to do it if you're a type of diver who does a lot of shallow water, frequent diving, because it's very active. So it's really good for that. The other type of diving is a static/dynamic. That is a combination of a static at the beginning of the dive, followed by a dynamic. Now, a static dynamic is what I prefer to do because it's a better simulation of what actually happens when you're spearfishing. You tend to do more of a static at the beginning of a dive where you do a lot of free falling, and then the dynamic is a little bit moving at the bottom, but mostly coming back to the surface. That's what that simulates. So I like to do a lot of that because of the reason. It's all about trying to simulate what you do diving, and the more you can simulate it, the better results or the better return for the effort you put in training. So the routine I like to follow when I get to the pool, and I dive in 25 metre pools, 50 metre pools. There's a few different pools I do, so I have to change what I do based on where I am. So if I'm in a 25 metre pool, which is my preferred length for a pool for this type of training that I do, I warm up with about 4 individual 25 metre dynamics, and I do them fairly quickly, and then I'll do a 50 where I go up and do a return. And over the years I've kind of got used to the return where I just push off the wall and use my arm to pivot and give myself a bit of push. You don't want your fins to smack against the end of the wall, it will eventually break them. So that's the type of thing I do. 4 of the 25s and then 150 on a return. Once I've got them out the way, I move into the static dynamic part of my routine. Now that's the best part in terms of simulating a dive, as I mentioned. So I will start out by exhaling, and because I'm an exhale diver, I'll exhale about half my air, and then I will hold at one end of the pool. And then once I've reached a certain time, I have time set, and I work my way up, depending on how I'm feeling on the day. And I only ever go, I'm diving by myself, so I don't really ever push myself, and I would recommend people dive with someone else, but I do it on a work break, so I don't have anyone else I can go with. But I do it quite conservatively, I don't push myself. So I will start out slowly. I might hold for 45 and then swim the 25. And progressively I'll work my way up. So by the end of a day where I'm feeling okay, I might hold for 2 minutes and then swim up the other end, and that'll be about 2 minutes 30, just under. So that's where I like to aim for it. And I'll do a few of those based on how much time I have available. I'll do that for a while, build up. The longer you do it, the better you get. And then I will round that out with a 50 to finish that. And then I will do 2 other ones. I'll do upside down 2 times 25. That actually just stretches out my back because the position is different. So it stretches out the back. It's really good for that. And then I will do a couple of lengths, no fins, where I don't use my legs because they're usually getting pretty tired. And I haven't used my arms too much. So I like to do just a bit of no fins arms. And that's just, it's all about balance for me, so I can balance out the working out, do my arms as well. And that's usually the end of my routine. And so I hope that gives you a few tips if you're looking to develop your own program for the pool. And just remember, always play it safe. You never want to push yourself to the point of blacking out. There's just no need. You're just there to condition your body so you can go out in the ocean and have some fun. And I hope you enjoy it. The main thing about it is keep it interesting, keep it fun. That way you'll be more likely to go back. If you just make it boring, you're more likely to drop it. So just keep that in mind, and I hope you enjoy it.